Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Now let's get into it. The Prince of Egypt is a 1998 American animated musical drama film directed by Brenda Champion, Steve Heckner, and Simon Wells, and was written by Philip Lasbenek. The film is an adaptation of the book of Exodus and follows the life of Moses from being the Prince of Egypt to a prophet chosen by God to carry out his ultimate destiny of leading the Hebrews out of Egypt. It features songs written by Steven Schwartz and a score composed by Hans Zimmer. We all know in adaptations there's always going to be creative freedom, but the movie does well in adapting important moments in Moses' life, such as the Hebrews in slavery, baby Moses placed in a basket, adopted into the royal family, kills an Egyptian man, runs away from Egypt, receives hospitality from the people of Midian, Moses falls in love and marries Zipporah, Moses meets God, goes back to Egypt, challenges Pharaoh to release God's people, God's judgment on Egypt, the crossing of the Red Sea, and the 10 Commandments at Mount Sinai. These are the parts in scripture that DreamWorks added to the movie. The creative freedom in the movie is the storyline between Moses and his adoptive brother Ramesses, and side stories with side characters like Miriam, Aaron, and Zipporah. What I love is the chemistry between Moses and Ramesses. Mind you, these two have zero chemistry in the Bible, but in the movie, these two have each other's backs. They love each other like brothers, and they will always be there for one another until Moses meets his sister. Even though Miriam is a side character in this movie, she plays an important role that changes the course of this film. The moment she sang the lullaby that their mother sang to him as a baby, she planted a seed of doubt, which led to him discovering the truth about his people.
They were only slaves.
Which leads to him killing a man, running away from Egypt, and living in Midian. He falls in love with Zipporah, which at first he humiliated her and then she got him back, but then the two eventually get married. Even though their love story is only a song montage, it doesn't feel forced but organic, and you get to see that genuine love for one another. That's what I really love on what DreamWorks did in this movie. But when Moses returns to Egypt, not only does Ramesses forgives him, but pardons his crime.
I pardon forever all crimes of which he stands accused.
No one would ever do that. You genuinely feel bad for him because you know what's going to happen. If you read the Exodus, then you know. But you sympathize for Ramesses because earlier in the movie, his father called him a weak link.
But one weak link can break the chain of a mighty dynasty.
So he's trying to live up to his father's expectation and not be the weak link.
I will not be the weak link.
Which leads to the downfall of Egypt, as predicted, and the duet between Moses and Ramesses is truly amazing. If you guys are interested in a musical deep dive on the Prince of Egypt, link is in the description. In the beginning of the movie, they were for each other, but in the end they were against each other, and inevitably God won, and Moses rescued his people from centuries of slavery, while Ramesses lost everything. That's what's truly amazing about the Prince of Egypt. They take a biblical story, add some few tweaks, and turn it into a masterpiece. Because when you're reading in the Exodus, you'll be like, certain parts that happens, it sounds vague. Like, you know, in the Bible, it doesn't really go deeper on what was his reaction when he met these people. Like, for example, when Moses went to Midian, how did he get there? Did he survive? It just said he ran away, he fled to Midian, and then he saved the prophet Jethro's daughters from other shepherds, and then he received hospitality. You know, it doesn't really go that deep. But DreamWorks, with their creative freedom, they made it far more interesting, and it actually lights up a fire inside of you to be like, whoa, I gotta pick up the original source material. I gotta read this, so that you can do your own study and say, oh, okay, I see where they went with, I see what they did, I see what they added and what they did not include. So that's what I really love about the Prince of Egypt, and you could really tell the love, passion, and effort that the animators, writers, songwriters, producers, they put into this film. Mind you, this film took 4 years to make, from 1994 all the way to 1998, because by that time Jeffrey Katzenberg got kicked out of Disney, and so he wanted to do the adaptation of the Ten Commandments that was released back in the 1950s. But even though the Prince of Egypt did not bring down Disney, but it was the foundation for the upcoming films that were yet to come, that we all grew up with and loved. So that's what truly amazes me, and that's why I always love the Prince of Egypt. The Prince of Egypt will always be one of the greatest Judeo-Christian animated film of all time, and is the blueprint of how to produce a film that displays God's glory without being preachy. Finding Jesus. But the Prince of Egypt isn't the only masterpiece released, because 4 years later an animated adaptation film was released called The Princess and the Pea, which in my opinion is an underrated masterpiece. And if you want to see that video, click the video on the screen. That's all for today, guys, and always remember, Johnny K Studios, we're listening.